My watch says it's 12:59, and that's close enough to 1 o'clock. I believe we have everyone here who is going to be. So I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll ask Jamie to have a roll call.
Iman Ahmed.
Present.
Al Bynum.
Here.
Moniz Hagler.
Here.
And Moniz, are you alone or with somebody?
Here. I am alone.
All right, thank you. Art Sparks.
Here.
Anderson Starling.
Here.
Johnny Wolford.
Here.
And then Julia Wells is absent.
Yeah, Julia was not able to be with us today. She ended up having a business conflict, so she's not. I assume, Jamie, the count was that we have a quorum. Okay, thank you so very much. I guess the simplest opening remarks, I don't know if any of you noticed, but there's been some changes since our last meeting, needless to say, with Edie is retired, and we will address that at some point in time. Keith, as we knew, is now working with the UT Ag Institute, and I continue to follow him on Facebook, and he continues to put a lot of stuff on there, which is good for the University of Tennessee, and it's good for UT Martin too, because I saw him last week at his father's memorial service, and I can assure you he still continues to support and push UT Martin, which is a great thing. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, and I think the minutes were all sent out to everyone. Does anybody have any deletions, amendments, or any changes to those minutes? And is there a motion to accept?
So
We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second by Hal Bynum. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Moniz. Hang in there with us. As we all know, Edie has been secretary of this board from its inception, and Edie has retired, so she is no longer with us, and not going to be able to make sure that I have roll call votes on everything. In fact, we did not have a roll call vote on that, Jamie. So you're going to have to get on to me. So we're just going to let the state get mad at us for that. Just don't tell our legal counsel that's sitting behind us, okay?
That's right, that's right.
Okay. The secretary is normally appointed by this board upon recommendation by the chancellor. Article 5, Section 2 actually covers the responsibilities of the secretary. It notes that she serves, or they serve, at the pleasure of this board. It also notes that the purpose of the secretary is to assist the chair and the chancellor in preparing agenda and materials for the advisory board. But again, it is we will act on the recommendation of the acting chancellor. So I will turn it over to the interim chancellor, Phil Cavalier.
So I'm bringing forward a recommendation that Jamie Mantooth be elected as secretary of the board. And you all know Jamie is an alum and has been executive director of enrollment services and student engagement for 7 years. 7 years. Absolutely excellent colleague, very, very good at helping me keep things on track, and I think he'll do an excellent job. So I hope you'll elect him. If not, it's going to get awkward. But
Is there a motion to elect Jamie Mantooth as the secretary of the board? We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
So Ann Joyner doesn't come up and thump me, we're going to have a roll call vote on this.
Iman.
Aye.
Al.
Aye.
Moniz.
Aye.
Art.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Johnny.
Aye.
Thank you very much. The ayes have it. The next item is the appointment of a faculty member, Dr. Clinton Smith, who could not be with us today, but if you were to read the bylaws, you would see that the UT Martin Faculty Senate actually selects the faculty represented for our advisory board. The process is described in the Faculty Senate bylaws and also our bylaws, and it says no later than April 15th of each even number year. I gotta reread that, because I think they are actually replaced annually. And, so,
They're replaced
yes.
every 2 years. The issue is that, as I'll be taking a full-time administrative
Okay.
role, I'll
Okay.
no longer be a faculty
Okay,
representative.
so you're being replaced only because you are changing positions?
Yes, sir.
So that's why we're off on this. As I read it, when I read it originally, it did not occur to me that, well, that's not exactly what we're doing here.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. I believe that person that has been appointed is Dr. Clinton Smith.
Yes.
And while he could not be here today, is there a motion to accept Dr. Clinton Smith?
So,
Okay.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Then we'll have a roll call vote on that. Jamie?
Iman,
Aye.
Al,
Aye.
Moniz,
Aye.
Art,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Johnny.
That appointment will take place at the end of this meeting, or they will begin their service at the end of the meeting, as will an appointment of a new student member. And the student member, actually, within our information, is a pretty good outline of how that student member, the process that they go through to volunteer and then ultimately be elected. This is through the SGA, and we have a young lady with us today who has been suggested, and there is a request that we have the appointment of student member Taylor Cantrell. Dr. Cavalier, do you want to give us some background on Taylor?
Sure. Taylor is a rising sophomore. She is a vet tech, vet science student. She's in SGA from Dyer County. And both Anderson and I met with her after she was recommended by the SGA, and very impressed with her, and I think she'll be a great addition.
I explained to Taylor in no uncertain terms that her responsibility, much like Amanda's has been, is to speak out, because they are the conduit back to the students, and the students are who we're supposed to be taking care of. And Taylor said that one of the reasons why she was probably nominated and elected is she can be loud. And I said, that's fine. That's no problem at all. Do I hear a motion then that we appoint student member Taylor Cantrell to this board?
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
And we have a second. Any further discussion? Any further nominations? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Iman,
Aye.
Al,
Aye.
Moniz,
Aye.
Art,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Johnny.
Aye.
I believe if I counted right there, it's unanimous. Okay. A little background with our SACS visit and proposed academic program. Stephanie's going to come forward, who is the acting provost.
Yes.
In the absence of Dr. Cavalier. So we're going to ask her to come forward and make her presentation with some slides that y'all have been previously provided.
So, my position before I became the interim provost was as the director of SACS accreditation, and this has been a multi-year process for us. But I wanted to give you just a little bit of, if I can get this go. So this is what we've done in the last year. Our compliance report, which covered 70-something standards, was due in September of 2022. In November, that compliance report was reviewed by what's called an off-site committee. They give us a preliminary review. They give us feedback on our standards. Their job is to poke holes and to ask questions. And so in our review, we received findings and questions on 15 different standards. In between November and January, we were asked to write what's called a focus report. So we addressed the questions that were asked by the off-site committee. We submitted our focus report and what's called our quality enhancement plan in January. And that's the first time we had submitted the quality enhancement plan, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Our site visit occurred on February 28th through March 2nd, and position for all of us to be in. We are currently in the process of responding to the on-site committee findings, and we'll talk about those in a minute. Upcoming, between August and November, SAC COC will respond, review our materials that we are submitting in July. They will make a recommendation to the SAC's Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees will vote in December, and we will find out our final decision on December 5th. And it is in Orlando this year, so we're going to Disney World when it's done. And, all right, the important thing is by the time we were done, on those 70-something standards that we addressed, we have absolutely no findings, which is phenomenal. It's very unusual for an institution to have no findings at this point. We do have a finding on our quality enhancement plan. This is the only piece of our accreditation process that is forward-looking. And if we'll go to the next slide. Here's the standard that describes the quality enhancement plan. You'll notice that there are 5 parts to it. The main part is part C. We're focusing on improving either specific student learning outcomes or student success. And then the other things are kind of how we are going to do that focus and what we're going to commit to doing. So our original QEP that we submitted for review in February was addressing 5 different areas that were designed to help us improve our retention and progression rates, progression for freshmen, sophomore, and junior, and so forth. And these 5 areas came out of strategic planning, out of our enrollment management processes, out of our work with the Gardner Institute. And we had 5 different areas, which was a lot to cover. When you going in, this was going to be a lot. So if we'll go to the next slide. The committee agreed with us, this is a lot. In 5 years, we have to turn in a report on what we have done with our QEP. It's limited to 10 pages. It's hard to describe what we did in 5 different areas in 10 pages. And so the committee came back and asked us to narrow our focus. Once we narrowed our focus, we needed to reestablish the buy-in from the constituencies across campus. We also need to redevelop our assessment plan because in narrowing the focus, there were things we were going to have to throw away. So we wound up with 3 recommendations in this one finding, addressing 3 of those 5 areas. So next slide. Here is what we have narrowed our focus to. We are going to concentrate on preparing UTM students coming in to be successful UTM students. We are also going to prepare our institution to meet the needs of our first-year students. So especially since COVID, the needs of our students have changed. We have not changed sufficiently to meet those. So for preparing our first-year students, we're going to focus on our GENS 101, which is our freshman studies course, kind of our introduction to what it means to be a college student. For our part, we're going to be working on creating a center of teaching and learning for our faculty. We do not have a centralized way of providing professional development to our faculty at this point. So in our center of teaching and learning, we're already starting working on that. Anderson has graciously agreed to be our interim director until we get this thing up off the ground. Bonnie Daniel in our Instructional Technology Center is going to be our interim assistant director, and together they're going to be designing the first part of professional development programs for our campus. We're also going to be looking at enhancing academic support programs, including supplemental instruction. This year, going into fall, we will be doubling the number of supplemental instructors that we have. We are going to be looking at some of our other areas, our math lab, our writing center, our STEM tutoring, and so forth. We're going to be creating a way to assess the effectiveness of those areas and find ways to improve those areas, because until we assess them and know where our weaknesses are, we're not going to be able to improve them. So
Are there any questions? Are there any insurmountable barriers for us?
No, sir. We are so much better than where we were 10 years ago.
I will tell you that 8 years ago, if y'all remember, we were in trouble. My brother-in-law actually worked for Saks, and my sister, once she gave up being vice chancellor for financial affairs at a university in Alabama, started doing contract work with them. They've actually moved back to Martin, but they told me when we got our deal, and I said, we're gonna get out of this in a year. They said, there is no way. There's absolutely no way. And a year later, we got it removed. So I've enjoyed telling them that we could do that. But I cannot thank the staff, and it goes back really to Bob Smith, on the improvements that have been made, because this accreditation is the backbone of the university. I mean, it just, without it, we're in trouble. And I appreciate everything y'all done.
Well, I will tell you that it was a lot of work on the parts of a lot of people. And our visiting team commented on the responsiveness of our institution and how quickly we were able to get them the information that they requested. And that kudos should go out to the entire campus for all of their work.
Agreed. Any other questions, statements?
All right, moving to the next thing, we have one new degree program that we are working on right now. It is in the approval processes. This is the Master of Music and Music Education. So, Ms. Lynn, you can get started there. We are looking at a Master of Music and Music Education. It's going to have 4 different concentrations. You'll see them listed under the emphasis areas. 2 of those are going to be entirely online. That's the general area and the leadership area. The choral conducting and instrumental conducting areas will have an on-campus component that will be held during the summer where they get some hands-on experience with conducting. This is designed to provide our music teachers in West Tennessee an avenue for getting an advanced degree, and will allow them to stay in-state and not have to cross borders into Arkansas or Mississippi or wherever to get their degree. It is unusual for a master's in music to have a leadership focus, so that's a unique feature for us. Our faculty are working on ways to incorporate this seamlessly into what they're doing now. So they are looking at combining low enrollment courses into one. So we have actually better student participation in a single course to allow our faculty to do other things. We have synchronous online approaches as well. So if we would go to the next slide, please. The program aligns very well with both the state master plan and with our UTM strategic plan, and you'll see the areas that our program is supporting for us. Next slide. And we are hoping to start small with 6 students in our first year, and as the years go on, we're hoping to increase the number of new students each year by 1. So 6 new students each year in the first 2 years. 7 new students in years 3 and 4, 8 new students in year 5, and so on. That will allow us to not only grow the program, but to be flexible enough to answer the needs of our students as they come in and we learn where their weaknesses lie.
Where are our students going now to get their masters?
Many of them are going to Arkansas, and I believe it's Arkansas State.
Okay.
And we have a few that go into Mississippi and a few that go into places in Kentucky.
Will this not possibly cause our undergraduate students to increase also, because they can come to UT Martin and get the full package?
That is our hope, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And our music program is working very, very hard to increase enrollment in that area.
If you look at the tuition revenue and the expenditures, even Petra has to be satisfied with this, I would say.
Well, I hope so. We do our best to make Petra happy.
Well, that looks really good. How many music majors are there now on campus? Any idea?
Off the top of my head, I do not know, but
Okay.
I can find that out for you.
That's okay. So is it our responsibility to recommend this, or what exactly are we supposed to do? We don't,
It's an information.
it's just an
item. Yeah.
informational only, so there's no vote. Okay. Okay. Any further questions? I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next item will be our retention update. And Brad, I think you have the presentation on that. Maybe you can identify some of these terms in here.
Good afternoon. Thank you for making time for me today. I'm very pleased to be able to provide you some updates on our persistence and retention metrics related to our summer enrollment campaign and what we're looking for fall as well. So just a quick recap. We measure persistence from semester to semester, fall to spring, spring to fall. This is a leading indicator for our retention metrics, so it's important as a look ahead. We're also measuring retention from fall to fall as a leading indicator for graduation rates, because that's the overall goal, to graduate students. So all of the numbers that we're looking at today will include both registered students and for our seniors, those who have already graduated as well. Those are included in all the metrics. We can go to the next slide. So fall to spring persistence is usually a very good early indicator of our fall to fall retention. And as persistence increases, we typically also see a retention increase as well. You'll notice that we had a little bit of a fall off after COVID, but we're holding fairly steady with our persistence over time, which is strong. And if we'll go to the next slide, just as we measure persistence from semester to semester and retention from year to year, we also look at those who don't return in terms of attrition. And so as you can see here, while the fall to spring persistence that we saw on the previous slide is holding steady and had gone down a little bit, while that's still holding right about where we expect it to be, our attrition rate over time has decreased, which is a very, very positive thing. Even given the enrollment challenges and the new challenges that students are facing in the last 2 or 3 years, our attrition rate has fallen below what we saw in 2017 to 2018. This is a very positive development. Next slide, please. So our fall to spring persistence continues to improve. Most notably, we had significant gains with our freshmen and new transfers. So we've got 2.86 percentage points of growth up from 2022. Our freshman persistence at centers was at 87.8%, and undergraduate transfers at 83.65%. These set us up nicely to see increased gains year over year for retention, as long as everything holds steady. So increases in fall to spring retention, fall to spring persistence, coupled with improving attrition rates, provide a foundation that will allow us to see some growth. Let's look on the next slide, please. So as you can see here, our point-to-point comparisons. These are students who were enrolled in spring to fall compared to last year at this point. I pulled this data as of May 11th. All of these are showing improvements. I do have some updates though, because I pulled these most recently on the 20th, and we've seen some improvements since then. Full-time, first-time freshmen are currently up slightly over 5%. New transfers are holding at just over 3% growth. Sophomores are up 5.2%. Juniors up 3%. And seniors are still holding steady over this time last year at about 2.3%. All of our undergraduate cohorts are up by over 2.6% point to point. And so that's a direct comparison at this point this spring to last spring. We can go to the next slide, please. And here it is in a pretty graph because it shows growth, and that makes me happy. You can see that there. When we look at these, we can see the gains. But it's important, we also need to remember that this represents earlier registration patterns, so a change in registration culture, and not necessarily will these directly correlate with final retention numbers. So as we're looking at this, it's important to keep in mind last year's census numbers at fall 22 census and to track our progress towards those goals. So point-to-point increases are really important, but they don't tell the whole story. So though we're more than 2.5 months away from the fall census date, and much can change between now and the 14th day of term in August, I'm happy to report that as of today, our first-time full-time freshman fall-to-fall retention measurement is currently 2%, over 2% better than what our final census count was last fall. These could change, these numbers could change over the summer, but they're very encouraging at this point. We can go to the next slide, please. So what are we doing to try and make this happen, to continue growth and make sure we don't see any fall off? Our Student Success Center is replicating the campaigns that we run over the past few terms with a few improvements. New this cycle was a registration celebration event that we partnered with Student Affairs, Records, and Academic Affairs to hold in the springtime. The event was designed to raise awareness about registration windows and to help students complete tasks related to registration. We'll be starting our phone call follow-up campaign earlier this summer. That starts next week. And some of the procedures surrounding registration over the summer have been streamlined with the assistance of our Chancellor's Cabinet and Council of Deans. Our Student Success Counselors are also going to continue to follow up with students identified by our Hope Scholarship campaign to help them retain these funds because it makes them easier to stay here at the, it makes it easier for them to stay here at the university. And some new and exciting developments that we've got in the works for fall 2023 include, as Dr. Coolidge mentioned, an expansion of our highly impactful supplemental instruction program. This is possible with the advocacy and support from Dr. Coolidge and Dr. Cavalier. We've got a new freshman retention dashboard created by Ryan McDonald and the IR team that will be very helpful in identifying continued trends. That will allow us to analyze data and continue to refine our approaches as we move forward. And if we will move on just one more slide. This represents where we are currently. Last year's first-time full-time retention at the 2022 census was 71.1% for brand new freshmen. And as of the 11th, it was 73.3%. As of this morning, if the semester started tomorrow, we'd be at 73.9%. Now, these things could change. We might not, be able to see all of these students enrolled. But if we're this far ahead at this point in May, and we're looking at a number that's going to be calculated in August, these are encouraging trends. And I'd like to point out, and it's important for me, to thank all of our colleagues across campus for their support in all of these efforts. It takes a campus to realize these kinds of results. We've made some strong progress over the past few semesters, and we're not going to let up now. So we're very thankful for the institutional support and the efforts of all of our colleagues on campus. That's just a really quick 30,000-foot flyover, but that's where we are as of now, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Can I make one final additional?
Sure.
Just want to make sure that when you hear 2%, I know it's easy to think, well, 2% is small. Well, what that means is 66 more students retained this year than last, which based on our net tuition revenue is about $390,000 more in revenue with that 2%. So I just want to make sure 2% doesn't sound little. It is, small on a 100-point scale, but in terms of the revenue and enrollment impact, it's significant.
Every student counts.
2% of the American population feeds all the rest of us, so.
That's exactly it. Yeah, exactly right.
Amen.
I assume we are still trending positively when you compare us to our other institutions in the area, Austin Peay, Murray, and some of
We're
those.
showing growth. We have to be a little careful when we compare apples to apples because everybody faces slightly different challenges and has different resources on campus. But yes, we're doing well.
Good. This is encouraging. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you. But it takes everybody, and we're all doing it together.
Any other questions? Again, this is an informational thing, so there is no vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, item number 7. Petra will come forward and do a budget overview and a proposed annual budget, which we will vote on, not voting to make the budget exact, but voting to recommend this to the Board of Trustees.
Good afternoon. We have worked over the last few months trying to prepare the proposed budget for the FY '24 year.
Yes.
So just kind of starting with our revenue budget. Our largest source of revenue continues to be tuition and fees, followed by state appropriation. 66.7 million are tuition and fees, and that does include our proposed increase amount for that, as well as the state appropriation that has been recommended for our campus. That's followed by a combination of our grants and contracts and sales and service, and just a few other items that are right at 4.5 million. the budget to equal. I think we'll have to work on $1 off so that we can reflect the budget that we discussed earlier. But seriously, we do propose a balanced budget with instruction, of course, being the largest portion of our budget, followed by student services, scholarships and fellowships, and operations and maintenance, which is essentially our fiscal plan and fiscal plan. So we do have those balanced at a total of $117 million for our unrestricted education and general budget. This is not including the auxiliary budget. Next one. So our state appropriations continues to grow, and we're very fortunate to have that. As a result of the funding formula, we're netting about $2 million, which is certainly a net increase that we can utilize for our programs and to support what we have here at the university. There's a proposed 5% salary pool that we receive a portion of the funding for, as well as health insurance premium and tuition and fee waivers that we are awarded, so that we can have a total of 4.2% of a state appropriation for the campus for next fiscal year. We have peer institutions that we actually measure ourselves with and kind of just see where we fall in terms of pricing and just determining what our tuition rates will be. So this is a list of our 10 peer institutions that recently were approved and a change from our previous comparisons. So these are the ones that we now will measure just to kind of get an idea of where we are in terms of where our rates fall. So looking at the next slide for our undergraduate in-state rate, we're right in the middle of several of our institutions, and we continue to keep in mind where we are with those rates. It's a little mixed bag that we were making the assumption that all of them increase at the same rate that we do, which is an overall 3%. Now, our recommendation is actually to have an increase in maintenance fee, which is in-state rate, at 2%. But then overall, when we look at our mandatory fees, it will be an overall 3%. So there's the amount that we assumed when we looked at the rates for the other institutions. If we also compare UT Martin to our out-of-state, you'll see that we are at a lower amount than some of them, but at right in the middle of where we are with several of them. So we want to definitely remain competitive for that. Our inspirational peer institutions, we have 6 of those, so we also try to be mindful of where we price in terms of those tuition and fee rates. And so when we look at our undergraduate in-state rates, we are close to 2 of our institutions and slightly above about 4 of them, assuming that they all increase at 3%. So it makes some assumptions when we're comparing the rates for those. And then moving to our out-of-state, you'll see that we're below 2 of our institutions significantly, and right in the middle of where some of the other ones are. Our mandatory fees are increasing slightly. We haven't had a mandatory fee increase in some time. We're requesting a student health and counseling fee increase, as well as a debt service increase for a total of $128, excuse me, and so that can help with a growing need in both areas. Our debt service is, of course, a lot of the debt that we have for existing bonds that we have in place. And our student health and counseling, of course, there's been a lot of discussion about the need for support of mental health and just the growing needs and care for our students. So we want to ensure that we're able to increase that so that we have students supported in a manner that's needed. about, and he mentioned net tuition earlier. That is a new look, so that we want to look at what is our tuition after we apply things like our scholarships and some of our waivers. So this is a look that we plan to continue to share with you, because it's just a different perspective of what are we working with after we make some of our obligations in terms of scholarships and waivers. So our FY '24 proposed tuition rates, the undergraduate maintenance fee, we're proposing $8,546, which is a 2% increase. Our out-of-state amount would be $14,586, which is a 1.2% amount. But when you combine our tuition and mandatory fees, it would be $10,208 for a total of 3% increase. Our out-of-state amount would be $16,248 for the undergraduate rate at 2.9. Our graduate maintenance fee, we're requesting $9,464, and our out-of-state at $15,504. Rounding out the graduate tuition and mandatory fees, $11,112, with out-of-state amount at $17,152. For our operating budget, we have a combination of our unrestricted education in general, as well as our auxiliary funds, and then our restricted funds for a total of $165,881,356. And of course, we balance our our expenditures and transfers to equal that amount. So we are asking for a recommendation in support of the tuition and operating budget for the coming year 2023. Are there any questions?
Petra, back on the slide for the net tuition rates, it looked like everything remained fairly consistent until you get down to the graduate 2023. And that one appears to go up $700 or $800. Is there,
Yes, so our graduate program has grown, as you know, over several semesters. And so the number of students increased, but we didn't have as many scholarships or fellowships going to those students.
Gotcha, okay,
Which allows us to have a larger
okay,
net tuition.
okay, okay, that makes sense. Any other questions? Okay, included in the information that's been given to you is our fiscal year 23-24 advisory board operating budget recommendation. And it shows exactly the figures that Petra's just gone over. Revenues of $165,881,356 and a like amount for expenditures and transfers. It also has a proposed tuition and fees, just as if Petra went over them a few minutes ago. This is what we need a motion on to accept and make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion about this? And Johnny and I had asked that surely they could cut $1 out of expenses so we could say that, hey, we're budgeting a profit out of this, but Petra said that might be difficult to do. Any questions?
This may be something you can answer off the top. How close were we to staying on budget this past year, this year?
Actually, we were successful in doing that because we had fewer expenditures that were anticipated in some of our categories. One of our big places was the staff benefits area, so we did not have to pay out as much as expected and budgeted there. So we are on point to have a positive outcome for this fiscal year for FY '23.
There you go, Art, see?
There you go.
You got somebody to do it.
Is there any thought to paying a dividend for people that have been out, say, 45 years?
Given that we are not paying dividends, we
I-
will decline on that offer.
I just thought I would ask. Okay, are there any other questions about this motion that we have in place? Hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote then.
Iman,
Aye.
Al,
Aye.
Moniz,
Aye.
Art,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Johnny.
Aye.
Sounds like it passed. Thank you very much. Thank you for everything you do. As much kidding as I do with you, but you do a great job. Now we have, going to ask Charlie Deal to come forward to discuss the RISE campaign and advancement, reminding him that the only thing between me and the lake is Charlie.
Point well taken. Good afternoon. There we are. I titled this, we are peddlers of hope, because in our line of business, that's what we are doing, peddling hope for tomorrow, for the next generation. So it's exciting to be a part of this great team that we have here at the University of Tennessee at Martin, and to help these students across our great state achieve their dreams. So we're going to try this, see if it works. Sorry, I tried to read it. All right. So in your packet, you received our update as of May the 8th, and we stood at $11.8 million toward our goal of $17 million for this year. We'll talk about the RISE campaign in just a moment, but our goal, stretch goal, was $21.25 million on the year, and also our number of donors. We are tracking that annually, and we have a goal this year of 4,900. I know the Chancellor's Cabinet, I've been talking about, that's one of the areas where we have been really concentrating, focusing on. This year's Captain's Challenge was focused on trying to widen that funnel for our donor pool and to increase the number of donors. So we're getting there. We're at 4776 right now toward that goal of 4,900, and we're making progress. Captain's Challenge, speaking of Captain's Challenge, we were able to surpass our 1,600 donor goal and raised just a little over $450,000 this year. It went to, I want to say, almost 153 different funds on campus to support, which is amazing. Next. This is our campaign sheet update, and this is again as of May 8th. We are at 98.69%. Our campaign goal was $175 million. This is our fourth campaign for the campus since our beginning. If you added the other three together and multiplied by 3, we're still above that in this year. So it's a very aggressive goal of $175 million, especially for a regional public university our size. So I'm very proud of what our team has been able to do. We have surpassed our donor goal to the campaign. We had a goal of 12,000 unique donors, which means if Hal gives a donation, that's one donor. If he gives another donation, it's still one donation. So we've had to date 14,420 individuals, companies, foundations who have supported us in our campaign since 2017, which is amazing. Next is a kind of a review of where we've been since 2012. Again, this is just kind of information for you to see where our fundraising had been prior to 2019. And 2019, if you recall, is the year that Bill and Roseanne Nunn presented us their estate plan for $22 million. From there, it's been a wonderful ride, and we're not finished. This past year, we were right at $17 million. We, as a team, advancement team, we have told ourselves, and got some of our advancement team here today, we want the floor to be around 15 million per year. And continue to, reach for that and reach even higher. Our goal for this year was 17 million. We wanted to continue to push our annual giving numbers as high as we can as well. You'll see those. We're a little ahead of where we were last year, still lagging a little behind from the previous, I think it's 21, FY 21. And part of that was because of COVID. And everybody else thinks COVID was bad, which it was, but from an annual giving and support standpoint, our alumni really stepped up and supported our students as they were going through these very difficult times. Especially one of the programs that we started was the Emergency Student Fund and the Student Worker Fund, because when the university basically shut down, students who were relying on their campus jobs suddenly found themselves without the ability to pay rent and whatnot. Our alumni stepped up, and Eric Norberg's here, and one of his former student workers gave a check, a very nice check, and it was their first gift to give back to the university. And they gave it to this fund because they said, I'm not sure what would happen to me had that happened when I was a student worker in the library. It hit a nerve, and they have given since as well. And so, we just have to continue to try to spread the word, to tell the great things that are happening with our students in the classroom, outside the classroom, and what our faculty and staff are doing to make sure our students are successful. So where do we go from here? We're going to complete the RISE campaign. We have 35 days to do so. We're already in the planning phase for our next campaign. Typically, you take about a year off and you start the planning phase. But we have several milestone anniversaries coming up. Number one, we're about to celebrate our 125th year as an institution. The second one is in 2027, we will celebrate our 100th anniversary of being a member of the University of Tennessee system. Very important milestones for us. We'll be building on those. Last time I told you we wanted to build our endowment to $100 million. Regional institution our size, that is ideally where we need to be as a program. We have a market value currently of $79.9 million for our endowment, and the book value is about $49.3 million. The book value is what we focus on. We want to get that to $100 million. So we got some work to do. We want to do that for 2030, and if we do that, Teacher has promised me a steak dinner. So, right, Teacher? We would also want to seek new ways, innovative ways to bring in revenue streams to the university, and working with our colleagues across. We've worked with Alicia Melton and our grants, research outreach, and economic development folks to try to partner with them when they're writing grants. Because number one thing we want to do is to be able to assist our faculty in the classroom when they're writing grants, and if there is a private donor that we can use to replace the E&G funds that are having to be used for match, that's a win-win for everybody. So we won't be able to do that. So next slide. As you can get breaking news right now. Okay. Go ahead, Larry. As of May 15th, we officially hit our goal of 175 million. We stand at 176 million, still rising. We are anticipating another about 1.4 million is what we're looking at right now. So we feel very comfortable we'll hit $177 million for this campaign when we close June 30th. This is very exciting to us. I know everyone in here is like, oh, it's just this money. But to us, it means a lot because we're seeing where this money is being used in each of the colleges and programs. We want to be able to help our students be the best they can be, and to have every opportunity to travel abroad or to do internships and those sorts. So we're very excited about this, and I would be remiss if I did not say a big thank you to all the faculty and staff who have participated in the family campaign, who participated in our Captain's Challenge, to all of our students who, if you were at commencement, either of the two commencements, at the very end, our students who have given were asked to stand, and they had their green cords on, and there were a lot of students that stood up. And that, to me, is what we're in the business for. They are already investing before they walk across that stage, and we're very appreciative of that. So, any questions? I flew through this because I know Art's trying to get to his budget.
What do you anticipate your next campaign to be, dollar-wise?
You know, looking at it, we're probably, the 176 or 175 million. Had we not had Wildwood Farm, we were looking at an $83 million campaign, which we would have surpassed already as well. Probably 100 million unless we can.
I think that's reasonable because of Wildwood.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen every year.
That is a.
Be nice.
Yeah.
It would be really nice if it did happen, but, yeah, that's a once in a lifetime. The other thing I wanted to mention very quickly is Brad did a great job talking about his retention numbers for students. We also track retention of our donors, and we're running about 2.3% above what we were last year in retaining donors. National average is about 40%. Institutions retain their donors year over year. We are at right at 51.8% right now, and we've got two major pushes going out to try to get us to our goal for annual giving and the donor count. One is hitting today. Since it is Memorial Day weekend, we had a beautiful ceremony this morning. This is a Memorial Day video that's being sent out to all of our alumni, like Lieutenant General Gladcaslow, who's retired U.S. Marine Corps. He did this, produced it in Washington, D.C. on the Mall at the World War II monument. And it is, a couple of folks that saw it beforehand said it was very emotional. And we honor the 41 UT Junior College graduates that paid the ultimate sacrifice in World War II during this 3-minute video. So we're hoping that we'll see individuals that support the Veterans Scholarship. That's the whole push is for Veterans Scholarship. If you see that on your social media feed, please respond, push it out to your group, share it to as many people as possible, because we would love to get that scholarship even more. Other questions?
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Again, this is an informational item, so we do not vote on it. Very good presentation. Glad to see you went over, Charlie. Dr. Cavalier,
Yes, sir.
do you have any comments?
I would like to say a few things about where we are, because actually the last time we met was before the announcement about Keith. It was January 20th, and January 26th was when that happened. So I want to mention a couple things. First is that really appreciate the cabinet's leadership for helping me manage the transition. There were a lot of folks on campus who were stunned and saddened deeply by Keith's departure or impending departure, and they helped keep things stable, keep things moving forward, remind people this UT Martin. I mean, it was UT Martin on February 28th and on March 1st, and Keith was a major piece of that, but the experience that the students had was still UT Martin experience. Just want to mention a couple things to make sure you're aware of some of the good things happening. First of all, how do you measure the health of this institution or any institution? Budget, enrollment, accreditation, donor engagement. And you've just seen presentations on all those areas that indicate this is a very healthy institution, especially when compared to where things were in the bad Sachs days in 2015. We've had tremendous success with athletics recently. The basketball team, men's basketball team went to the OVC tournament. Men's baseball team was a 3 seed, and they had their highest win total in the OVC in history this year. Softball went to the OVC tournament. Beach volleyball won the OVC championship and played in the NCAA tournament. And student athletes are doing extremely well in the classroom, and that's obviously critical. We've got a wait list right now on housing, and I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but that's the first time any of us can remember a wait list for students trying to get into our housing. And what does that mean? That means that we are looking at a very positive uptick in enrollment in the coming semester. I want to mention about scholarships, because Peter talked about net tuition revenue and what Charlie has done. If you looked on that slide, $34 million for student aid has been raised. When those gifts are realized, because there are state gifts in there, what we're talking about is roughly $1.5 million in revenue every year to offset scholarship costs. So we're at 14.8, that's what Peter showed. Either we can provide larger scholarships for more students, or we can reallocate some of that money. It's a very, very important thing, and Charlie's group and Keith's leadership really have put us in a good position to do more for our students and making sure they persist. We had a tremendous commencement. We graduated about 650 students, and we had Liliana Ramirez from Ford. She's the global workforce development lead for Ford. She spoke and had an absolutely perfect message for the students. We are right now running workshops for K-12 teachers in West Tennessee to help them understand the kind of manufacturing that's going to go on in the Blue Oval City campus. And that's heavily mechatronics and robotics, so we're getting the teachers some hands-on experience to understand what exactly that's going to look like, and we've been able to do that because of a grant from Ford. So we've established a strong relationship with them, and they're looking very carefully at our Somerville Center as a place to do some onboarding and really help them. It's 13 miles from Blue Oval City, help them get that plant up and running. I think the last thing I want to mention is that we are likely in January to begin offering four-year programs at Vol State in Springfield. We've been in conversations with them. They have been looking for a four-year partner that'll be very responsive to them, and they're interested especially in ag. And so we will likely start working with them for a four-year program at their Springfield campus, which is a beautiful location. So, Chairman Sparks, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. Of course, everybody's wondering how the Chancellor Search Committee is going. I wonder how it's going sometimes. I understand Petra brought us up to date a little bit because she's on that committee. I think they have narrowed it down to 10 or 11 people and are going to have some Zoom videos and things like that. They are still optimistic that they will have a new chancellor named, and I didn't say in place, but named by June 30th. And that's right around the corner, as we all know. I think that would be great. We, as an advisory board, were able to meet with the committee, and the consultant makes some great points. He was almost comparing 8 years ago to right now, and he said, really what you have is a good institution that will be fairly easy to replace, because unlike 8 years ago where there were some real challenges out there aren't as many challenges. And he says a lot of times when they go in and are attempting to replace a chancellor or something, it's because the chancellor has been removed as chancellor, and normally when that happens, there are challenges out there that you have to hit the ground running. He said, you have a situation here where everything seems to be ginning very well, mainly because of the staff at UT Martin. And he said the beauty of it also is that the former chancellor is still part of the system and can be called upon at any time. So those things made me feel real good about the selection. And again, we're hoping toward June 30th that they will have at least named someone. Couple other things, we have 2 members that are leaving or escaping, ever how you want to look at it. One of them is our faculty member, and Anderson, you have brought a lot of good things to this committee because, again, you and the students are our conduit to know exactly what's going on. You as a representative of the faculty, as a representative of the students, because if we don't make the faculty happy because they are making the students happy, then we will have failed. And I'd like for you to come forward. We'll get a small token of our appreciation. There's some cards in there for making further donations.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Ron, we would like to have you come up if we can. We've got another bigger token of our appreciation for you. We really appreciate everything that you've done. We really appreciated you sitting in on our meetings and things like that, even when you were in Nashville, getting good experience. You've been very good. We look forward to Taylor coming on, and we look forward to Dr. Smith coming on. I really have no other remarks. Does anybody have any questions that they want to discuss or anything they want to discuss?
No.
Okay. I think
Good
there
reports.
were very good reports. I think there is, and I think I saw in here, the advisory board, the revised and extended meetings that we have. I asked Jamie, because I thought I was going crazy, because originally I had this meeting last Friday. And he told me, well, originally it was, but it got moved to the 26th. I did ask him politely to say, let's don't meet on the Friday afternoon before Memorial Day next week. And I think they have taken care of that in this particular meeting. If I don't hear any questions or anything, I will entertain a motion that we adjourn. We have a motion. We have a second. And do the roll call vote.
Lamont,
Here.
Powell,
Oh, sorry.
Moniz,
Aye.
Hart,
Aye.
Anderson. Aye. John.
I guess.
We are adjourned.